Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of The Real Deal on the eve of the season. We are here to talk Real Madrid expectations for the next season. We've done a lot of content on the show over the offseason, but this is really our big picture way of circling everything together. Xabi Alonso's here. We have Dean Huijsen. We have Trent Alexander-Arnold. We still have the boys across the country talking trash with Marcus Rashford and Barcelona. There's a lot at stake. What's up, Jarod? What's up, Loconte?
I'm good, man. Yep. I got a package from the Real Madrid official store in the mail today. That's always a good sign. That means the season's about to start. So listen, I'm good. The music hits hard. I'm like, yes, Gladiator walking into the arena. I'm feeling good. Ask me how I'm feeling in December if we've lost 3 or 5 or whatever. We haven't won. I'll be thinking differently, but I feel great right now.
Oh, I feel great too. I'm not gonna add more to it.
Yeah. Well, I'm feeling pretty good too. It's just it's the satisfaction of knowing the coach probably sees the same issues and is very relatable to us in age, generation gap, maybe less so than the last coach. So there's a trust going into the season we have about how well this team can play, about how good they're going to be. So let's get into our expectations for the season. Last season was pretty bad. I just want to add this to the stage. You guys can see our metrics. Now, Zidane 2021, you can see our goals and goals conceded were on the lower side. Under Carlo, we score more and we concede more almost every year except for that 1 year, 23-24, when everything worked out. But as you can see, the XG conceded was pretty high most of those years under Carlo, and we did not necessarily go around creating crazy chances last season. We scored a lot. You can see the 75 goals, the 78 goals, the 75 expected goals. This season, what do you guys expect? Let's start with attack. What do you guys think is going to happen to the offense? Can you really separate it from the defense? What do you guys expect?
I think that's an excellent way of putting it. Can you separate it from the defense? I believe that our defense will be more sound this year. At least I hope it will be. I think Xabi wants a more sound, structured defense. And I think because of that, we are going to rely less on Thibaut's heroics, 15 arms, and making all these saves. And we will have more ability to take away the ball higher up the pitch and turn that into, I think, more expected goals and hopefully better finishes, right? XG is one thing. Do we then convert? That's a different thing. But I expect us winning the ball more, and I expect higher quality chances. Whether we finish or not, that's a different story.
Yeah, I would really agree with that. I expect the number of quality of the chances to improve this season, especially now Mbappe has a little bit of reps with the team. He's gonna be the glue to that attack. But most of the eyes, do remain on the defense. Does Thibaut have to be like a Spider-Man again, or are we actually collectively gonna be able to handle teams week in and out?
Yes, definitely. One thing I want to point out is that we're almost certainly going to outperform XG. We do every year, but I guess just going to attacking expectations for our big attacker. We have it over here. What do you guys think is coming as far as, is Kylian going to be our top scorer? Is Vinny going to rediscover? Are they going to be symbiotic together? What do you guys think?
I think, yes, Kylian will once again be our top goal producer across all competitions in terms of goals and assists. He had 50, I believe, combined goal contributions last season. I expect a higher actually output from him this year, 60, maybe 65. I see a big year from him. I think Vinny will have a bounce back year for sure. Now, because he is not, it's the wrong word. He's not that he's not the main protagonist. Because we have Kylian Mbappe, the pressure and the load won't all be on him. So his goals may not be where they were 2 seasons ago, but I do think his overall contribution and output will be higher in that he's going to have many more assists. I think he's going to be the one feeding a lot of those Mbappe finishes that happen at the end. And Gonzalo Garcia possibly too.
Yeah, I would agree with that. For the most part, yeah, it's Mbappe is most certainly likely to lead the charge in every offensive metric, maybe outside of the creative numbers.
Right, yeah.
But even then, Mbappe can put in a lot of killer passes, so I don't know how that's going to look like. It's good that there's just a player to carry that burden with like high volume of shots and goals at consistent times, which at times we didn't get it last season, but still the Golden Boot winner. So yeah, you just have to kind of go with him at this point, given the career that's had.
I'm hoping it's less streaky. It's interesting just going through the metrics. Like I only used the last 5 years in this visual because under Tuchel he had some pretty ridiculous stats the couple years before that.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see, like from the last 5 years, you can see he's played more minutes than he did at PSG. He has scored a little less, fine, but his XG is right in line, and it looks like he was just finishing better at PSG, and he did not finish as much better. But the main drop-off seems to be his expected assisted goals, his assists per game. You can see 0.08 non-penalty assists per 90 last season, and that's like way lower. He's always averaging like 0.2 every season at PSG. Do you expect a return to those PSG metrics, I think is my question. Or do you think we get this maybe with slightly better finishing that we didn't get last year?
I think we'll see some of the return to the PSG metrics in terms of the expected assists, as Loconte mentioned. I think that attacking, whatever you want to call it, duo, trio, depending on how the shape shifts throughout games, I think we'll see a lot more symbiosis this year than we saw last year. I think because while I don't think Xabi's going to be too rigid with them, I think he's going to give them some structure so they understand what is expected of them, and then allow them the freedom and creativity within that structure to do what they see is happening based on what the defense is dictating. But I think we will see a little bit more of that return from him for sure. I think, of course, what's going to not hurt but take time is Jude's not going to be back till probably end of October. So that's going to be a little while for him to get reestablished. And then I don't know what's going on with Rodrigo, whatever that situation is. And then Masantuano, a new player who's looks like he's going to get a fair shake and amount of playing time, right? It's going to be some time for adaptation, but I do think Vinny and Kylian particularly will be very good.
Yeah, me and Sarbrone already had an episode on Mbappe, so I don't want to go too deep into it. But I do believe that Mbappe's assist numbers are going to jump, but even the expected assists in general, just how many times he's laying that ball off compared to last season, because we have a better team dynamics. Therefore, he has a little bit more options than he did last season when there were a lot of times where he needed to solve those issues by himself, which I hope they're not going to repeat, at least for time being. I think that you want, just like Sid mentioned, his numbers under Tuchel were ridiculous, because that's kind of like the level of that we're dealing with. It's still ridiculous, even on the charts that we're looking at, right?
Yep.
Like, we're just looking at an unbelievable attacker.
Mm-hmm.
But I expect, weird to say, but I expect an even bigger like offensive impact from him and Vinicius as the season grows and as they play more and more and more together and they get accustomed to what one another is doing.
I think the consensus, yeah, and so it seems the consensus from us all, and even from the reporting and even the reports about Alonso and the Club World Cup and who he was going to bench, it seems Kylian, especially as the season progressed towards the end, they feel like he's going to be good no matter what. And the bigger concern now seems to be shifting to this man, Vinicius Jr., who have his stats on the screen. Last season, his overall production, expected goals plus assists per 90 was good. But we're used to a very clutch player who would like kind of provide those right when we needed. And we got a relatively unclutch player last season where he's providing the chances, not finishing them off. He's in sometimes getting released in good situations. he's not doing the most with it. Even with all that, it's interesting that his expected goals assisted per 90 was the highest of his career at 0.32, higher than it was a couple years ago when Benzema was out. And that's really cool. Now, I mean, you guys have all seen the metrics, so I'm just going to flick it to another one. Out of all his progressive carries, passes, receptions, expected goals plus assists, the biggest drop-off, it feels like, was his progressive receptions. He wasn't getting the ball in that isolated high and wide area where he's free to cook. It felt like Mbappe was getting some of those. And when he got it, he wasn't maximizing things the way he maybe was in prior seasons. And I guess the big question for me is not whether Mbappe does well. I feel like that's guaranteed, although we'll get into whether we're clutch in key situations and all. But can they both be great together at the same time? I think is the big question on everyone's mind. And also, just while we're here, just want to say we don't know if Rodrigo's here, but Vinny's form is bad. Is Rodrigo playing on the left? Is it going to be Mbappe plus a rotating cast, or do you think it's going to be Mbappe and Vinny together? Like, how do you guys see this going?
I think it's a lot. First, I want to touch on the progressive receptions. I think you're dead on that. I think there's a mental thing with that too, right? Before Mbappe is here, right? Vinny's getting 15 of those a match, right? Give or take. So he's not worried that, if I miss this one, doesn't matter because I'm the protagonist. I'm going to get another one, the next time we get the ball. Well, now I'm only getting 10 of those a game. So that's going to play on his brain a little bit because no matter what you are, whatever, he's going to think, I have to convert now because I may not catch another one now the rest of the half, whatever the situation may be, because we have this other player here. So I think adjusting to that fact that I have this other huge gravity-inducing player who can also do that as well, that takes time to adjust to. Number two, what Xabi Alonso's asking of him, right? Which is, I don't want you to hold the ball so long sometimes. Sometimes you touch it and you got to get rid of it, move it, relocate, right? And it's him getting accustomed to doing that. Because he's essentially shifting the way he plays, right? He's changing his play style. He wants to make it more efficient. So instead of 17 options, you may only get 10, right? You got to be really clinical on those 10, right? It is a mindset shift that has to go on when I'm going to get so many, so now I'm going to get less, right? I have to be much more clinical and better. That's number one. Number two, to your point about what do they do? I think Xabi's going to start with Vinny and Kylian. I think if either one of them fuck around and do something that he doesn't like, they're going to find out quick and be on the bench. I really believe that. Like, I think he has that power that's been reported, and he will put Gonzalo Garcia in there, who he knows will press, will cut off angles, will do whatever it is I asked him to do. If one of these two ain't doing it, and same for Vinny, if you're not doing it, Rodrigo or whomever, someone else will come in and take that spot.
Yeah. Loconte, what you think?
Yeah. I think in terms of the first point, right, that also has to do with the fact that the team was slightly dysfunctional on the way how they moved the ball forward. You're not getting the ball in as much as advantageous spots as you would when Toni Kroos is there to feed you, for example. Or you can see that there's also a number drop-off when Benzema wasn't available on that season, where it's relatively lower / closer to the past season. So that has to do with the way how he's connecting with his teammates, maybe a little bit off. In some aspects, there could be like a clash of where they want to receive. That's a little bit different to how they want to attack, but rather where they want to receive. So that's something to get accustomed, adapted to. It's been a change for the whole team. It's not just been a change for him on itself, but he's definitely been on the suffering end of it the most. Yes, his numbers are still relatively high, even for a struggling season, I want to say, for his standards. He's putting up good numbers in terms of creativity. You touched earlier, for example, like his creative levels were still pretty good, but that's due to the fact that there's an Mbappe, there's a Jude, players to get at the end of what he's trying to do. But not necessarily just he's doing.
His own creativity has not necessarily improved as an individual.
Exactly. Right? It's just like the environment around him was just better last season than the season prior, for example, where there's a huge shift between having Rodrigo as your partner and Mbappe as your partner, regardless of what people think of it as a product, right? You want you have more efficient players. In terms of the second point, I don't see a reason why they don't work out together. I think they're going to be just fine. I think Alonso I mean, Alonso in his first press conference said that he already has a plan for them too, even though we saw it consistently shift. So let's see where it gets stuck. We'll progress with it more on the channel as we start to actually live through these two as a partnership.
Yeah, totally. And and I think that brings on a note I want to touch on. It's really about build-up play and how they're going to arrive. I feel like as that changes, can Vinny get accustomed without getting cast aside for the system, losing form, losing confidence for a week or two? And even if that happens once in a while, like, football is not perfect. People don't remember what growing pains look like. Growing pains take time. Even if that happens, does he bounce back is my question, or does he let someone take his place in the team, like a Rodrigo, if a Rodrigo doesn't leave, who would love to play on the left right now, would love to play with an athlete like Kylian so nobody focuses on him. And, and he can dribble, and at the end of the day, it's still better position for him than the middle and the right. So we have an option there who can do some things in those situations. So it will be interesting. And yeah, I think the main thing is I expect a lot of it to be a consequence of how we change our build-up in an attempt to control the game. So, like, we saw it in the Club World Cup. There might be games where we have a reliable outlet, but if our attackers don't make the right choice within our new system, it might look bad when it's working. It's just not like the endpoint isn't there. It's going to be, I just think for this team, like, growth looks like getting everything right in the first 2/3 and then figuring out what happens in the final third. Maybe I'm just old school Zidane. Like, that's how Zidane did it. He locked down the first 2/3. Then it's like, let's go figure that out. And even if the worst case is that you're getting your attackers the ball more and you don't know what to do in the final third, that's a good place of control to be in, where you have the ball. So I think a lot of the growing pains in attack will come from alterations to build up play. And I think if we don't see a very clear improvement in our expected goals conceded, I think it's because we're trying to regain control of the game first. So there might be some chance concession. But yeah, in general, I would say I expect build-up to be better. I expect defense to be much better. And I expect the attack to find its way as the season goes.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you in 100% agreement there. The other thing I'll add is that it's about finding that balance, particularly for the attacking group, between being part of this cohesive 11-man unit and doing my own solo thing, right? Like, these guys have been stuck in this, for lack of a better term, hero ball, hero mode thing mostly their whole career, especially under Carlo, right? That's just hey man, go cook, figure it out. Okay, there is place for you to do that. There is room. However, you have so many other good guys that you can play with that can help you, right? Like, particularly on the left flank with Vinny. What I'm going to be curious to watch is how well do he and Carreras link up. I think that could be a beautiful partnership on that left-hand side of the pitch. But he's so used to having Mendy, which is a non-factor, right? And Fran, who maybe he doesn't trust as much, right? Like, but Carreras has a lot of skill. Like, can you see that? And can you see what he can do? And can you work together, right? It's ultimately what Xabi's trying to do is, can you guys work together? And then when you need to, here is your individual moment of brilliance in this last moment here.
Yeah, I would agree with that, really, because as you said, like, there's been a lot of hero ball, like ISO situations with those players at the soul. So now they're going into a more cohesive play style where they have to know where the teammate is. Takes time. There's some reps in. Again, I always shoehorn into, they need to learn a few things. It doesn't matter what age they are. They need to learn a few things about the teammates. And for the most part, there's been kind of like an overhaul, if not like of the squad as a whole. There's definitely a systematic overhaul within the club, which they're going to have to adapt. And as Sid mentioned earlier, there's always a Rodrigo, right? I've not been Rodrigo's biggest fan, but I'll say one thing. He'll always run. So if it comes to that, the guy will at least always do that. And if you need a goal for the league, Mbappe is still there. So yes, your position is not really, like as safe as it used to be, because you're such a good high volume carrier and creator by yourself. Now you have to kind of get with the others.
Yeah, the Cortegana report really drove that home when he was saying that Alonso was pretty much going to bench Vinny for that PSG game. That really drove it home. It's not as simple as it used to be. I think that's because we also have guys like Trent, Dean. When we have Trent, Dean, and Mbappe on the pitch, we're less reliant on Vinny. And even in many scenarios Jude than we were in like we just went from 23-24 team to having 3 protagonists who can just dominate games in a way that we didn't before. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see. Now, I will say this on build-up. I think the build-up is going to be good, and it kind of segues. I think the scenarios where the build-up looks bad are entirely because we might be short on midfielders because of injuries, and that would be entirely because Camavinga's hurt half the season. Tchouaméni sometimes is hurt for 30% of the season. Fede is never hurt, but he's in dangerously close to Rudiger territory, and we don't want to take that for granted.
Nope.
So you put all that together, and Jude is out for surgery. You put all that together, this is a far cry from the midfield plus Kroos and Modric we had 2 years ago. It's not as healthy. You know, you're all of a sudden you're actually reliant on Ceballos to give you good minutes. You're not just looking at him as a backup to a backup. I think the biggest bottleneck is midfield injuries and like even defensive injuries. I actually think we have a good team, but the way also just looking at the frequency of injuries in football, I don't even mean like we don't have enough, but like even seasons we've had 2 players per position, we'll lose both our center backs to ACL tears. So I am really worried about Camavinga. If when Camavinga's not healthy, this midfield's thin. Jude is out for 3 months, this midfield's thin because like you need guys who are good enough to start, who are clearly not a shoe-in onto the starter sheet. We don't have as many of those right now. Like I'm worried about I'm honestly just worried about center back injury and just an extra one too many midfield injuries. We don't have a Kroos Fede double pivot anymore. It's going to be Ceballos Fede.
And I think Xabi's worried about that as well, too, which is why he's constantly being like, we're not done with signings. I know the board's saying one thing, but we need more depth. And the board's like, oh, you have 2 at every position. Yeah, but do we have 2 at every position, right? Like, if Tchouaméni's out, who's his backup? Right. That delay and pause that you hear, right. That is exactly my point, right? And I'm not wishing it, but injuries are not they might. Injuries are a certainty. Every year, players will get injured, right? The question is for how long and who. That's all we don't know. How long and who. That's the part we don't know.
And when, yeah.
And when. Correct. And when. Those we don't know, but it will happen, right? And so,
Camavinga.
Well, Camavinga, right? But I'm with you, Sid.
No, I mean like every time.
Oh, well, I mean, listen, I love Camavinga, but this in so many ways, this is a make or break season, right? Like, I need you to be healthy for 85% of this season, my guy. Like, we cannot have another 4 months, you're out. Like, this is because he's so good. And like, he can be such a weapon that, again, Xabi can tactically deploy in such interesting and creative ways. But fuck, he just never plays. And Ceballos, we're going to be counting on it. Look, we called up Thiago Petarch he wasn't even Castilla, was he? Juvenil A last year. He's already up for the Osasuna game because that shows you our lack of depth that we already have. And if Arda goes down, who's Arda's replacement?
Uncle, I guess.
You see, this is what I'm saying. Like we got problems. We got problems.
Do you like Ceballos' role in the depth chart right now, Loconte?
No, I don't like Ceballos.
You think we're too dependent on him right now? You think we're too dependent? Because I like him, but maybe as like our third option, not our second option.
It's just too random with him also. Just like it's just random when he's on and everything is on for the team and him, and when he's in the mood and when he's not hurt. It feels too random, too many variables. But Loconte, go ahead.
Ceballos is just like he has that February month, like once in a blue moon, where he looks like Toni Kroos is just being reincarnated, and then he goes spinning on midfield and trying to dribble his own shadow 2 weeks after.
Well, I have a question for you there. So because remember, Carlo didn't rotate, right? Carlo had his 11 and whatever. But do you think that because Xabi will rotate and Ceballos is going to get consistent minutes, do you think that means that his floor will be a little bit more consistent now?
I think it's
because he will have more consistent minutes.
I think it's worse. I think
you think it'll be worse.
Okay. The more he plays, the worse he looks, because the more on rhythm he is, the more film there is on him, the more teams are prepared, and the less adaptive he is as a player.
Got it.
But one thing that I'll say about Xabi, right? He rotates a lot. His main guy doesn't get rotated. Granit Xhaka at Leverkusen, he's going to play every minute. That's Tchouaméni here. If he's healthy and fit, he's just going to play him because he has that cornerstone guy that he wants to build around him. He already told us that he's building around Tchouaméni. He went like, this is my guy. This is how we're going to proceed. I think every other position is tangible, is changeable. I think that we can get away with an injury or two, because I just think that Alonso can create such a dynamic team to the point where what the team is trying to do is it just fits. Like,
That's what I'm thinking.
we have like different shapes, right? Ceballos is a center back on the build-up at one point. He's an attacking midfielder for the rest, because Alonso keeps on trying to see. Because, for example, if you're going to push two midfielder side, I'm just going to say this. There's no reason why you can't play Franco and Arda together, for example, if, let's say, Fede is out for that game, and you have like a player like Brahim who's going to make the running on the right to support Trent. I think that the team overall has solutions until we go to the center-back spot, because Militao looked fresh, all of that, but that's a guy with 2 XLs, literally on each leg. If Militao goes down, concern really there is who's replacing him, because that's the problem. Who's replacing the athleticism that Militao brings? That's very much required from a center back on this setup. So that's a real worry.
Yeah, so I guess my thing with the midfield is like, are we going to have a point in the season where, because of injuries, we're like, okay, we need a certain player, we need a certain profile, this is who it is. And like, they've tried with Stiller, they've mentioned Zubimendi, people have been mentioned at points. I just wonder, I just think if there's a few too many injuries, we need another one to add to our 4 diamonds of like Fede, Camavinga, Bellingham, Tchouameni. We might need a 5th of those if Camavinga is not one of those. And I think this is the year we find out. But yeah, I agree. A lot of the big question is defensive. Like, if Militao didn't make a miraculous recovery, which again, not many players do it in the time span, like both legs, consecutive years, and then coming back and looking better than your teammate who was overplayed but didn't have anything that chronic, Rudiger. And so coming back, we have that frame of reference where, okay, you clearly look good. And, it's kind of like 23-24 when we're just counting our lucky stars when Jude scored 20 goals from 5xG or something. A little bit like that, where you're hoping you survive, you're praying, and it's not ideal. But there is a world where Militao stays fully healthy as well. And
I encourage everybody to go back and listen to the episode I did with Henry Abbott of True Hoop about injuries. I think it's really instructive in this manner. It is so common that you tear the ACL in one knee that you literally will tear it in the next knee, like the following year. And Henry and I talked about part of the problem is that the timeline that people use are surgery timelines, right? Surgeons decide, okay, you've got 4 months from this date, 5 months from here, you do this, you do this, you do this. That's all well and good, but that's not what caused the injury. What caused the injury was some biomechanical issue in the way you move, right? Do you still have that same biomechanical issue? Because if Militao has that same issue, it doesn't matter, right? Injuries are going to come again, right? So what I hope is that piece of it has been ironed out on the Madrid side, is that we figured out this is why, and we have corrected this problem. Hopefully that is the case.
I just want to say, sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that even if he's fully fit, like biomechanically, he's fully fine. Well, you just know that those knees are never going to be like the same as pre the injury. Correct. So that injury, him getting injured or at least suffering muscle strains at constant levels, I would imagine, it's very likely. So that's where I'm really stuck at with this team.
We need Gonzalo.
Yeah, for sure. So defense is a huge bottleneck, both injuries. I actually have a hot take for a bottleneck, because I think Camavinga, the defense, I think Camavinga is a bottleneck just because what he does to our midfield and how effective they are. Like it's not the same midfield with solutions for every game without Camavinga. Let's be honest. It only is because of him and Tchouameni and Fede and Jude. They're the ones who solve almost everything. So if you remove him, but I actually think the big bottleneck is Gonzalo Garcia. This is crazy. I know it's going to sound crazy, but I think if there's one thing I've really keyed in on and I'm afraid about to start the season, and I think people are going to get on Xabi for this, is that I don't know if the profiles are, and the combination of the profiles and the automatisms of having somebody to cross to for 15 fucking years at this club, I don't think without Garcia, they can choose to win every La Liga game by scoring, if that makes, like, I think he is necessary to create the win condition in late La Liga games. when we have to force it through, while Vinny and Mbappe are learning to play with each other, while Rodrigo's figuring out what he's going to become on the left now that he's back there and all that crap, and while while we figure out if Brahim has a future as a 12th man, amidst all this, Gonzalo is the steady, like the Joselu a couple of years ago, the guy who comes in along with Jude when he's back, the guys who can head the ball, you can do your simple Mbappe run, chip it over the top, less complex moves. So I think Garcia, center back, Camavinga, those are the three big positions. And I think Garcia, we get late in the season with good buildup and defense and we're missing Garcia. I think we feel the pinch, guys. That's my hot take.
I don't think you're wrong.
Sorry. Go.
No, go ahead.
Now, my hot take will be that Endrick is going to be more important than Gonzalo by the end of the season.
Wow.
Now that's piping. I think that's piping hot.
Steaming hot.
It's not because he got the number 9, right? But you guys know that one of my first takes was Endrick was going to be one of the most beneficiary players from Alonso, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just see him coming on or even starting as that Nathan Tea, Musa Diaby, Jeremy Frimpong. Not a lot of the touches, a lot of physicality, and a lot of getting in behind. Alonso loves that.
Yeah.
He loves that player. And Endrick, even for last season, yes, he did have bad passes, I want to say, with his finishing, right? Especially near the end before the injury. But he's so good at reading that space. And because he has so much physical prowess to hold off defenders, you just don't see him getting shrugged off at all. I just think that he eclipses Gonzalo in terms of who's getting the important minutes.
Interesting.
If I want to close the game out.
Listen, I would love it if Endrick becomes a protagonist in that way. That'd be awesome. That's all. Listen, with Gonzalo, that's only a plus for us. The more options and versatility we have, the better it is for us. So I'm down with that.
Yeah, that's
also both can coexist because they're such different profiles.
My first thought was
more like a one-touch pass and move type of player. Endrick doesn't want to be on a ball a lot. You want to keep him away from the ball as much as possible. He wants to attack the space, so both of them can coexist in a lineup without any problem.
No, I think yeah. From what you said, my first thought was sounds like Endrick will just have a role along with Gonzalo. From what you're saying, even if Franco sends some runs in behind, he's going to get minutes too. Anyone who runs, it sounds like. I totally get where Alonso's coming from.
That's the Alonso style, right?
His Champions League at Real came once we had Bale and Ronaldo and we were just spamming Pep 4-0. He saw it happen. He's like, oh, you don't have to overcomplicate it sometimes. And he really knows that. And especially because I watch that team sometimes and the way they access those two, the speed, the way just sometimes we just be pretending to be taking a stroll and then just slam it to them over the top. I think Xabi loves that. I think he knows it's just an essential way of keeping the other team honest. It'll make them sit deeper while also challenging them. I think the main thing we saw with Xabi is going to be a lot of the artificial transitions, like you said, Loconte. He seems to be really good at that. I think the big criticism of him might be that in an attempt to engineer those, some games he's going to lose control of, as we saw even in the Club World Cup. And that's okay. For me, again, I want to see when you lose control, what are they doing when they lose the ball? Are they running back? Are they trying together? Are we conceding because Rudiger and Asensio made a mistake? Or are we conceding because we didn't defend in shape? There are a lot of nuances. So my take is that people who don't have a trained eye are going to criticize the end-to-end nature of some of our games because they don't know what they're seeing.
Yep.
And I think it's all going to be I think it's going to be okay to invite an end-to-end game if they allow us to create the artificial transition for Mbappe. So control paradoxically won't always look like control. You have to, it's really, every game looks different. How you dominate, especially teams that are decent defensively, you're going to want to bring them out a little and you're going to play a little faster. Maybe teams that are very elite offensively, you want to keep the game a little slowed down. So, I just think defensively, a lot of people will expect perfection, but it won't look the way people expect it because defense and offense are interconnected.
Well, it's like that old saying, right? Possession has never won a match before in football, right? You can dominate possession and not win, right? I mean, we've seen matches where teams have 80% of the possession, but all their shots are from way outside because they can't get anything past the defense, right? And if that's
in 2018,
right. If that's the case, okay, right, great. You had 80%, but your shots were of no consequence because you could not penetrate. So again, to your point, Sid, it's going to be about what the actual product is and what are the eyes telling us, right? Are we defending in shape? We are, and you're getting your long shots that are covered. Great, good luck with those, right?
Just to add to this, every single goal I believe that we have scored so far under Alonso has been like Alonso engineered. Like there is a touch in there where you can see it. If you want to go back and watch like Leverkusen goals, like that's all what you have to do and compare, you'll see a lot of similarities of run gets triggered in behind. It doesn't matter if it's a decoy run or just a run that's actually being made into the space. And then a player access it via between the lines, or maybe they just let the ball slide. We saw a lot of Vini and Jude trying to play it short between one another at the start, which looked really rough, right? But that's kind of like how Alonso tries to perceive it. That's more like, okay, am I facing a D block? Can I put these guys out a little bit to exploit that space? Or do I need to access the lines? And that's where, like, Huijsen, you see him going into midfield. Like, that art of Huijsen on itself, it's kind of gone from center backs at all. You don't see center backs pushing all that much anymore. And just seeing him is very refreshing. He joins the midfield. He gives you that extra option. So that's what gives me hope to dominate those low block teams, because low block teams are a little bit different, right? We used to face them with Ancelotti. I don't think once you said, we dominated that game. We could have had 20 shots, but they never felt they're going in. Now you need to manufacture a way to beat them, and you want to do it as early as possible. One good thing about this squad as a whole is that this squad has shooting. Like, if you want to say one thing, there's an Arda, there's a Fede. It doesn't always have to be the automated way of, this is how it's going to have to be. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it can be a Fede screamer from 40 meters, and we get on, open the game up, and then just kind of control it from there. Or Mbappe solo goal, or Vini, or whoever. Because football is low margins. That's all what we need. This more like league-based, where there are a lot of components that are going to need to fall into the place for the team to find its consistency. And one of them is, how do you find the goal? And can we actually turn the trend of, we're going to up the gear by 30th minute, maybe by 10th. And we get the goal as quickly as possible, get them out, become more comfortable. Alonso is like one of these coaches that is going to make substitutions by the 60th minute. Let it be Mbappe, Vini, or whatever he deems necessary in that moment, he's going to do it. He doesn't play by your pedigree. At least that's what we saw at Leverkusen, even though there were some names there. He doesn't play by the pedigree. So if you're having a stinker, as I like to call it, he's just going to take you out. And that's it.
Are our top 10 outfield players, are they all shooters? I think they are.
8 of them, definitely. 8 of them.
Eight for sure are.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good. I like that.
Because even Huijsen can shoot.
That's what I'm saying. He can shoot.
Yeah, we've always traditionally. I remember when I was younger, I'd always think, are we just trying to stack the team with long shot takers? But yeah, we do like stacking the team with guys who can shoot.
Shot takers.
Yeah, my whole life though, it's like the days of Bale, James, and like. I guess Modric was a long shot taker, but Bale, James back then, Asensio, We've always had guys like that. But now onto the big. Now we've talked qualitatively about everything. Now let's get into quantitative. Are we winning? The what? I just displayed our overperformance of expected goals on the screen for people interested, just to show you we totally outperform XG offensively and defensively almost every year, and so. Let's start with La Liga, though. It's going to be tricky because it's not just about XG and us doing well. It is an opponent that kind of plays like a maniac. I mean, Flick's Barcelona, they're very aggressive. They're very fast, and like they're desperate to score as many as they can every week. So I think the big question in La Liga is like, do they run out of steam? Is a question on some level. I think even if they don't, we saw last year, I think we are neck and neck. Our squad is, in my opinion, just as good, if not better. I think our squad's better, but they are quite deep in some areas, like where Flick can turn guys like Eric Garcia, even Gerard Martin. He was like, yeah, I'll make him depth. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, didn't work against Inter, but it did work in the league enough. So I don't expect an easy league title just because we didn't have a preseason, and I am honestly a little bit worried that at some point it adds up and catches up, especially because the opponent was extremely liable to lose to us. If we had the same preseason as them, I think we beat them a lot, like 8.5 out of 10 times. Without the preseason, I think we're closer to a coin toss, is my take.
Well, what you have is the defending league champions are going into year 2 of the same system, right? They know what they're doing and they know what to expect. Now, we all on this show think that year 2 Hansi Flick means you're going to run out of gas and all of that. And that's going to happen. The question is, we just don't know when, right? So, but at least they have a clear idea of who they are and what they want to do, right? That they know that. We, on the other hand,
also film stacks up, right?
Yes,
again,
correct.
So,
correct.
It can work both ways because film stacks.
Of course. And so now we know what the high line is. Other teams know what the high line is, all that. And we actually saw it get exposed last year, right? A bunch of times. Shit. I mean, we could have exposed it a million times last year. On the other hand, we are in the beginning of a new situation, right? So we don't know what to expect from us. There's going to be some growing pains and some, we still don't know where each other are, that, this, that, and the third. But what I do think, though, is those points we dropped against those bottom of the table teams last year, where we should not have. I think we will have less of that to potentially none of that this year. And I think those points that we make up there will be a huge factor in us, I believe, winning the league. I do think we'll win the league. I don't think it's going to be some 12-point runaway. No. But we're not going to drop those silly points to like teams we shouldn't. Like, I just don't think we will. At least not to the level we did last year, where it was like every week it was like, shit, dropped another 2 points. Right. Like it's like, oh, great. Here we go. Dropped another 2 points. Awesome, guys. Like, I don't think we'll have a lot of that this year.
Yeah. Normally, like, my expectations are pretty clear. I made my stance pretty clear. I think that Alonso's style is literally a kryptonite for Flicks. So if it comes to head, I have no issues home and away. Like, this is going to be probably clipped. No issues with them at all. Like, I don't fear Barcelona at all. Like, my issue is literally Atleti. We were talking even before the show. Like, I'm kind of scared of what they're really doing over there from them. And one thing to Jarod's point, right, is just that we never win the league when we don't deserve it. Like Xavi's Barca, for example, won the league with 1-0. Like, post gets hit 5 times in a game against them. It just goes their way. That doesn't happen for us in a league. We're pretty bad at managing it. So basically, I'm not saying that we don't have the tools or things don't go our way. They do go. It's just that we ourselves manage to blow it more often than not. And I don't think last season, even if we were crowned champions, I would have said we're the deserving champions. It would have been more like, yeah, we have Mbappe, and instead of 33, probably would have had like 37, and he would have won us the league. But that's about it. Like, I see a squad here because league is a little bit different. League allows, I think, a coach like Alonso who already knows what he's going to do, and the players seem to be responding to it pretty well. A player, we have just enough, even if we have to scrape by for a couple of months, to win it. Like, that would be like my final prediction, is the fact that this is at least a 92 plus type of team. And I don't think Flick's Barca are. And that's my stances. So that's why I see Madrid winning it.
Yeah, it will be interesting. We will definitely come back to this. I feel just uncomfortable taking a stance in the sense that we get to October 26th. We've had a couple bad injuries and our lack of preseason is hurting us. I just need to see how the first 5 weeks go. Or I just want to see the progression. Like, okay, how quickly do we settle down? Or are we like, damn, like everyone's hurt, preseason was short, like, because you saw how PSG looked against Tottenham with Enrique came out and said, hey, they had 5 weeks of preseason, we had a week. I'm pretty proud of, I think, considering that, it's kind of impressive that PSG turned that game around. Momentum for sure. I'm just hoping that at the start of the season we're just good, that we're not relying on emotions, on energy, we might need some remontadas to start the year. I wouldn't even rule that out. It's just, when are we good? Like, last year, we were waiting all year. We never got there. And to be honest, if you were waiting after like December or Jan, the joke was on you last year. But
Do you think that there's a reason why they kept Pintus? Like, because he's so comfortable now with the team, like the physical levels of the team. Do you think that
I think he's in a non
of preseason? Why they kept him?
He's in a non-important role from what I understand right now. Like, I think Xabi's man is in charge of all the training and
he's the fitness lead still.
No, he like it. Honestly, from what I gather, it's more of a ceremonial title, and Xabi's guy is the one who's actually on the pitch constructing individual workouts so, and like, yeah.
I got that wrong because I always thought that they kept Pintus to kind of mitigate the lack of preseason because he's already been with the team for so long now.
I think they kept him to like, all right, we can't like diss him that bad. Flo likes him, you know, but I think Xabi is very clear and like, no, I don't like these methods. Like, because even if you look at like just what they do, it's completely different than what they did under Pintus. You can just see it.
Yeah, no, Pintus was kept on in an honorary role, and honestly, a role which allows him maybe a little more oversight over conditioning, but less responsibility in other areas, so he doesn't get what happened last season, where he's getting blamed for things he's not in charge of as well. But yeah, it will be interesting. But yeah, all my concerns are fitness related, and that's why. And I feel like you can get a good feel for how fitness is going to progress a few months, and it's just this is where things get complicated. The game has evolved. Like injuries are more random because of shorter preseason, so more players are getting hurt, and so. I just it's just weird. Like you never know which season of yours is going to be an injury story versus like a football story.
Hopefully we had our injury story last year and we're done. No more. This year will not be an injury story.
We were lucky. We got an injury story and a football story in 23-24 all in one. But yeah.
Yeah, but so you guys believe that the squad isn't deep enough?
No, I just think people are gonna like if we don't play perfect the first few games. I think you obviously have to wonder not whether Alonso's work is working, but you just have to first think, okay, like they played the Club World Cup, they had 2 weeks while every team they're facing had 6-7 in a row. I don't know how long it takes for the 2-week preseason team to get comfortable in a full season. Like, is it going to be October? Because if there's a few injuries, it turns into something where the rest of the team is holding you afloat just to get back to normal. And so I'm just saying with the important preseason, the challenges are way different. And again, PSG, too deep, Uber Eats, we're in a tougher league. It's a little harder. And so...
would you think that with international break coming, if all those teams that didn't have the preseason, right? That includes Madrid, City, Manchester City, probably to a certain extent, Chelsea, all of these. If their players were allowed to go with their international,
as long as they're allowed to tell the federations to fuck off, yeah. But like, I feel like
they can, because those are World Cup qualifiers, I believe. For the
one way is going to help us is Vinny's already not being called up for that one. So Vinny, one player we know for sure, it was announced today. So one player we know for sure will get the advantage of that break to work with the fitness team. It is going to be Vinicius for sure. One player we know for sure. Everybody else, I don't know. I mean, I do know. They're getting called up. Everybody else is getting called up, except for Jude, because Jude will be hurt. But
yeah, Jude is not going. Mbappe might have ghost injury.
I hope so. Keep him. What worries me is Tchouaméni going. That worries me because I'm like, look, man, he's very important for us. As you said, I don't need him wasting energy right now.
He was with France, right? Tchouaméni. Last time he got injured was with France national team. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't like that. The one thing I'll say too, Sid, will be nice for us in terms of new signings. Once he's back and match fit, Jude will be like a new signing in many ways because it'll be end of October, early November, right? Like we won't have had him for those first, 9 weeks, 10, whatever the hell they are. And once he's back rolling and that rest, I think he'll be like a nice little bottle rocket coming out for us, which will be helpful this season. I think it'll be a nice addition.
Yeah, and I guess
in the first 5 games back.
5 yellow cards, he said.
He probably will, yeah, because those referees hate him probably.
But when he's though, I think so. That's why the first few months really will define my La Liga expectations. I just think things can go wrong, and if they do, it doesn't mean we won't catch up. Because again, last year we caught up, but if things go wrong in a way where you have to overstretch your squad to stay in the shape, then maybe you have a complicated season.
It go both ways, right? Even Barca last season, that December and January run where they had the drop off.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very hard to gauge. I just think that personally, I have them as champions and 92 points team because normally those same rules are going to start applying to every team at certain points.
They're going to apply to them.
You know?
I give Flick maximum till the end of the season. I think if he makes it to the end of the season, I'm gonna just start celebrating in Schadenfreude or whatever how you pronounce it. I'm just gonna pretend.
You got it.
Yeah, Schadenfreude. Yeah, I've never said it out loud. I've only read it, but I'm gonna start celebrating in advance if they make it intact at the end of the year. The big worry for me with them, the big worry for them, by the way, is I think actually Marcus Rashford actually does add something to that team for Flick's system, for the way he's basically a second Rafinha with like a little different angle bias. And I think
pretty bad at controlling the ball.
yes. But also motivated for his next contract. So that's always a scary one. Needs money. Like also was on a big contract at United. You know, his fam's like, hey, we need this. We need our fan. When are you buying us our next property, Marcus? And he's like, damn, I got y'all. Like, I'm serious. That's how I think it goes for Marcus. It's like you have
that Saudi move, bro.
Yeah, I mean, once you are used to 350K a week, anything below that feels like poor money. Like it does not feel cool. And so Rashford needs that 350 like oxygen. He got paid United money, so. I'm scared of that Rashford, Loconte. I'm scared of I need to like provide for the rest of my family.
Especially because he's going to be coming off the bench for like 30-minute clips, right? So he's going to be super fresh, fast as shit. Like at the end of games, like that is worrisome.
What's funny is I also see the flaw.
What'd you say, Loconte?
I just said or very rusty and bad at football. He's the type of player who seems to want to be engaged.
Yeah, no, for sure. The thing is, I think he's a flawed player. I just think in that Flick machine, they don't care about how well you control it. Like, run, bro. Yamal will feed you. Like, he'll just tell him to run 1,000 times if he wants his next contract, and Rashford will do it. And they will pass him the ball. Whether he finishes it is a different story. But and they will also give up. They're also going to give up chances on the other end to get Rashford his. You know, that's the way they play. Like, I just feel like he's a shoo-in for 20, even if they don't win the league. But we'll see. But my take is Lewandowski declines, and that's where I think Lewandowski is aging out, and I think Rashford mitigates that to some degree. But but basically, long story short, on that note, Champions League, assuming that we don't botch the group stage during this period where we're getting going, I actually think, like, you know, in the spirit of Real Madrid, even if the league isn't perfect, even if we don't take advantage, even if Xabi can't change that, I think Xabi raises our floor so much that I think we're competitive in this competition. I think even with our squad last year, we could have been competitive in this competition better with Xabi. And I'm ready for number 16?
Yeah, we'll be 16 this year.
I want number 16.
What I'm looking for is, I think, again, we'll be better in the group stage. Again, especially against those lower coefficient teams. The question is going to be, right, as we are developing this new system under Xabi, how do we do in that matchup against Liverpool this year? How do we do in that matchup against whoever, Arsenal, right? Like that. And then when it's knockout time, right? Like, because in La Liga, when you make a mistake, the talent gap is almost so wide that a lot of those finishers can't hurt us in La Liga, right? Because they're just not good enough. But they're good in this, right? Like Liverpool's good enough, right? Like PSG is definitely good enough, right? There's other teams are good enough. So the question is, when we make those mistakes and now we're punished and we're down 0-2, how can we come back and respond? I think, Loconte, we talked about this a little bit, right? Like, what's our mindset when, okay, now we're down 2 to an actual team? How do we respond to that?
I would agree with that, but I'm not very hopeful for the Champions League as like for the 16th. I think that there are going to be a pretty terrible matchups potentially. Like, it's going to be, Champions League is always matchup dependent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't get me wrong. You can get just like a Wolfsburg. I know they're not here, but I'm referencing like Zidane's first tenure. Like, you can get like a Wolfsburg and get away with it, like a Man City with a Yaya Touré that doesn't want to run.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can get that type of run. But for the most part, keeping it realistic, I think that teams like Arsenal, Man City are going to be pretty bad matchups in general. At least for a team that's still being built, right?
Well, so the bald fraud's rebuilding his team. Why are they a bad matchup?
The bald fraud.
I'm just kidding. I respect you, Pep. You know I had to do it for the memes, but I just think I agree with you. I just want to say I just hope we're in May and they're still looking like the so-called rebuilding new team that's getting cooked by seasoned Arsenal. Like, Rodri's not the same, but yes, it is still Pep. Agreed.
It's still Pep, right? So I just have to, because that January 30 wins in a row streak of Pep that just tends to happen. Like, that's a fear of the team that you're potentially going to face.
Pep Arteta are always hard to play against for sure.
Yeah.
They're very hard to play against and they're very hard to prepare against. Like, I would be more comfortable, like, give me Barcelona in Champions League every time and I go like, okay.
Because you know how to beat Flick, right?
I'm not even going to say that Arsenal are better than Barcelona. I'm just saying that they are just a tighter, harder matchup for where we're potentially going to be, taking everything into account. That's why I'm way more confident in a league than a Champions League. Personally, like La Liga plus a Champions League quarterfinal/semifinal, depending on the opponent, right? If we get Man City on quarters and they beat us and they end up winning it, then it's not really a failure, right? So it's like that's where I currently am with those two. I totally want to see a consistent team in the league, which I think there will be, and one in Champions League that's going to do pretty well in the group stages, depending on the draw. And then from there, just kind of hoping that they're going to be able to withstand what's going to come in front of them. I could be completely wrong.
No, I think you're right that we're still, I think the main question is we need to figure out how this team chooses to approach and withstand tough moments in Champions League games. It's not because it's a different team now. It's not, Cruz is gone and Dean and Trent are here. It's a different configuration. And I am excited purely because this personnel, everyone we sign with the view of winning this competition, like all multifaceted players who are not matchup reliant. Typically, that's what we go for. So I see the squad and it's just like, hey, we have Vinny and Mbappe and it's been 1 year and, you just pretend last year didn't exist. They should be favorites in that competition more often than not. So that's what I hope. But I am curious to see how we approach it. That's the big question. Like when we won it under Zidane finally, we were able to ensure we were able to approach most big games defensively. We had that Bayern matchup that was very, very difficult both years that we couldn't approach defensively even if we wanted to. But we're playing Carlo, let's be honest. Now we know how that feels. Like, because when we had Zidane and like those games were way too wide open for what we were used to with Zidane, I feel like, from what I remember. Like, we're used to being a good team that can remontada. Then those games, it's like line-breaking pass every 3 seconds from whoever's on either team. And it's just interesting to see, like, are we going to be the one that's trying to lower the randomness and try to make it a more controllable game? Or are we going to try and inject the randomness? It was fun seeing Carlo inject it the right way so perfectly. And yeah, like, I think the other thing is to keep expectations tempered is even if Alonso gets a lot right, you might lose to a tough matchup in the semis for sure. And
that's not knockout football,
especially 23-24. I just want to point out the biggest overperformance in the Stats Bomb database. So I mean, it's just funny looking at these. Like, we like some years we outperform defense by 20+%. That year we did it. Some years we outperform offense by somewhere between 3 and 10. That year we went 26. So both sides of the ball, some of our largest overperformance.
Oh, remember how many times teams hit the post against us in the Champions League? Like, we had a lot of fortunate bounces happen our way in 23-24.
Lewin turned into Thibaut against Leipzig to begin with.
Cool. Also that.
Really talk about that, right? It was like that game felt like the turning corner for Madrid in Champions League, right? Not losing there was just big. The overperformance, especially with Carlo, is it really shocking considering how chaotic he makes the games?
No, it is relative to a database. It's the highest in the history of football that they've measured. So just however you want to. So I'm just saying, Carlo's never done that on his other teams. No other coach like Carlo has gotten there. And it's not only that, the whole Jude thing, bro. Like, everything he touched went in. Like, I love Jude. If he does that one more time, that would be twice that no one has done that besides Messi. And maybe
that's a horseshoe year. You got a horseshoe up his butt, right? That's a horseshoe year. Everything works.
But I do agree with you on the principle that I think on some level we can expect them to overperform. So it's like if the team's floor gets better and they overperform by half, that's still a really dangerous team. And that's what I try to tell all my smart friends on other teams. I'm like, listen, we overperform anyways. We bullshit anyways. We just need to be competitive. Then we're gonna bullshit on the margins. That's just
so the reality is in all sports, to win, you have to be good and you need a little bit of luck, right? Every team to win, that's what you need, right? So to your point, Sid, if the floor is raised, right, all we need is not a lot of luck, just a tiny bit to go the right way. And to your point, we're very dangerous and can win. Will it go our way? I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out.
There's always a point in the season when I just want to say before you guys want to wrap up anything, but there's a point in the season when I really feel everything and I make my conclusions, and we're at least a few months away. But pay close attention, have fun to start the year. We'll we could play horribly like 2-3 weeks in a row, and we might still be looking right there in December, like we did 2 years ago, 23-24. What's funny I think about 23-24 is like the metrics were overperforming, but you could see us get better middle of the year, and if you knew what to look for, you knew we had a chance. I think that year you had to squint sometimes because of how bad we looked in a lot of games. I just don't think we'll have to squint as hard after November this year.
I mean, if Dortmund was more clinical in that final, we would have been down 3-0 at the half, right? Like,
that was a shocking final for sure,
right? Like, we would have been down 3-0 at the half. They were better at finishing. Like, it's just,
Yeah, but then again, they went 2-0 up against us in the first half, and then in the second,
that's true. Then we scored 5. Yeah,
5 against them, right?
No
it's
doubt.
Just with Carlo, especially, it was very what's going on here. It's very chaotic. It's very unpredictable. He makes the games that way, to be honest. Like, it's kind of his approach. The trust on the players, like all of that, not always pans out, as we saw last season. It can go really wrong, but sometimes Alonso is going to have, I'm going to be here on a record to say that Alonso is going to have to do that at one point. He's going to have to go like full on Carlo, where he has to bank on his players to get some results. Because if you guys remember, against PSG, he had this quote that's still stuck on my head. He went like, yeah, this loss is painful. You know what pains me more? It's not going to be the last one. It's a very realistic approach to how the season does go. You might beat Barcelona and you could lose to Espanyol just a week after, right? Yep. All I'm saying is that the low margins, sometimes things might not go your way. You'll always need those margins to go your way, at least on a big moments. If we're, to your point, Sid, if we're competitive by like February, right? By that point, you just know that they're going to smooth sail the season naturally. It's just this August, September, November, where they're scraping through. If they survive these 3 months, especially, they're going to be fine. Like, they are going to be fine.
Especially if you just have a decent minutes distribution, I think it's over. I think it's over for Europe. If you have a bad one, we still have a chance because we're so stacked. That's what's crazy about us. Yeah. But if you have a decent minutes distribution, I'm scared.
What I'm going to be watching this season, last thing I'll say before we wrap here, is not so much the Barcelona game, because whatever, that's what it is, those matches. How we play against Atleti this year is going to be so critical for me. We have not beaten that squad. We didn't beat them once last year. 2 years ago, we beat them in extra time in the Supercopa semifinals.
We only beat them in the cups. We don't beat them in the league.
And so how we play against them this year, that's what I'm going to be really zeroed in on.
Atleti are still the scariest in Spain for us. Even yesterday, I know they lost, but some of the things they were doing now is just like, yeah, we're not going to be able to cope with this. Like,
and they can also stop the game by having they can call their fans and tell them to throw shit onto the pitch. Hey, Simeone, like, hey, assistant, like, let them know shit's not going well right now. You heard the boss, and then up in the stadium, they're taking the call. You heard the boss's orders, throw shit onto the pitch.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. But they have their, Metropolitano, we always have that extra wrinkle. They can pause the game and start it over if they ever need to beat us.
Or maybe Tchouaméni can just walk backwards and they get a penalty.
Yes.
It can go either way. I mean, that's literally what happened. Like, anybody can clip me, can go and take a look at that penalty. The guy is just literally walking backwards, and somehow Atleti get a penalty. And I'm like, okay. Like, come on.
Yeah. How we hold our heads and how we manage our emotions when everything goes against us, that will be, I want to see. How are we reacting? Are we fraying and fracturing?
When it is on the shirt, right?
Yes.
We spoke about that on a show where we went like, that spirit kind of feels lost. Lo and behold, a month later, we get that in a shirt. Even though I don't understand why it wasn't the home kid that gets the code, but an away kid that's probably going to be used like 3 times a season. But
Yeah,
yeah,
they have. I like that third kit or whatever the release they're doing. I like the. I think Real Madrid is luxury fashion compared. Like you can't do that with the Barcelona jersey. You know,
Because they got to put Rolling Stones lips on it and whatever the hell. Like, I mean, come on, what nonsense
so
these people do.
you have something against Spotify nowadays?
I mean, I love Spotify. I'm just saying, like,
I will say the Mamba jerseys are cool. I will give them credit. That was cool.
Lord.
But it
don't
pissed me
don't
off.
do that, Sid. Don't be giving them no props
I will
because
say-
you're a Kobe stan. Don't be doing that, man.
No, I just want to say, whoever Adidas or Nike or whoever you had working there, just stop collabing with them. Like, I don't like your good ideas. I don't like seeing good ideas go there. I don't like the Spotify once in a year thing that definitely helps the artist revenue. I don't like that. That's too innovative for me. Go back to not registering your players, whoever you are. I don't like it when you guys innovate over there. That's what's funny.
The plain shirts.
Yeah.
But that's what's funny about Barcelona. They really are innovative. They were very innovative in all areas, and they are in some areas, and then in the others they're not. But
They're especially innovative in how they creatively can register players at the 25th hour. They're already on a flight to Mallorca. A player not registered yet. Oh, magically, he's registered just in time for kickoff. Like,
they sold Trincao while they're not 101 with the rules, and they need to clear actual wage, which is a wage that they weren't actually even paying. So it's just,
they're so innovative there. It's so innovative.
Look, I understand why the league wants to keep them competitive and all, but come on, man. At least try to make up a better story. Like, at least, like, don't tell us the accountant made an error for 3 months and suddenly they just were able to find that little flaw, or the assets that were never sold, but somehow never registered and sold, but it doesn't matter.
Well, I just want to
keep them competitive. I like that. I like competitive spirit. It's just that the lies they try to tell us. It's just, we're not buying it. We know you're getting help. I don't care what media you're trying to use. You're getting help.
Just be upfront about it. That's all. Just be honest about it. It's fine.
Like even Madrid genuinely might be helping them on these cases to sort these things out by loopholes.
Yeah.
Like, Madrid, like Perez, give credit to him. He's a master of loopholes. Like Vini registered with Castilla. Rodrigo registered
with Castilla.
Mm-hmm. Endrick registered with Castilla. Mm-hmm. Franco now registered with Castilla. He's like a master of loopholes. But that's not really a point of the law. That's just finding a loophole within the law system, Spanish one, which now protocols don't get accepted. Apparently, if you guys know what I mean, you guys know. But that's it for me, really. Here, I don't think I have more to add.
I'll just say the game in Miami might be the beginning of the end of La Liga as we know it, the way we know it. I would argue it is because for two reasons. One, like, it's the fact that Villarreal approved it because of the money that tells me where this is going. That's where it's going. It's a battle between UEFA and the La Liga people and the FIFA.
Is that happening?
Well, I'm just saying Villarreal approved it. Why do you think they approved it of not playing a game in front of
the money? I know they approved it because of the money, but I'm saying that is UEFA actually going to allow that?
I don't know if it's happening. I just it feels like the writing's on the wall. But if it happens, that's what I'm saying. If it happens, it's the beginning of the end of La Liga as we know it. It's going to.
You see, this is why Florentino wants a Super League for reasons exactly like this. This is exactly why.
This was the whole Super League. We got it. It's just that people are oblivious to it. We literally got the Super League. But the thing is that, are UEFA really going to allow it, considering that they're kind of beef with FIFA, right? With the Club World Cup and all of that?
I think you have to take a stand as UEFA, so you shouldn't, but we'll see. You just never know who's corrupted, who's getting paid what to make sure the deal happens.
Yeah, I mean, if their pockets are getting thickened, for sure, but I don't think they are. So it's like UEFA has no real reason to approve it. At least from now, from this stance, what we know right now.
From what we know, right? But we may not know that somebody's getting greased on the back end and they're going to be like, fine, whatever, we don't care.
I mean, look, I'm Albanian. I'm allowed to say it. The vice president of UEFA is Albanian. So, yeah.
Well, we'll see. They still have to register their players. There's only so many cuts they can have to go around. So we'll see what happens. Well, with that, we're going to wrap it up on this episode of The Real. It was really fun going over expectations for next season. Listen, we are constantly trying to make this show better. We invest a lot into the show. And, if you could leave a like, if you could subscribe, comment, that would greatly help us on all the algorithms and all the platforms. It's much appreciated. We are going to put out more visuals, data as the season goes on. we're working on a lot of stuff. It's just working on expanding the team so we can keep you all happy. So thank you all for tuning in. Jarod, thanks for tuning in. Loconte, thank you. And we will see you all next time.